So let us therefore right now begin. We are going to be starting with the new team game clan tournament that we are having in the community. Currently run and kind of partially sponsored by Deities of Death, but also sponsored by the community. Let's not leave that out, of course, at this point, but Deities of Death are the main hosts, and, well, gonna be therefore having some team games for the next few months in the community. And plenty of streams and whatnot. As you have seen, this was a match. This was the premiere, played late on Monday. And it was streamed by plenty streamers. Darthnox was doing it on Deities of Death channel and also co-streaming to his own. And then there were also some further streamers going on through the community. I think in Stretch was streaming, and I think yeah, also some. No, Neymar was doing his POV. Yeah, right now seeing him here for KeeN Clan. So yeah, I'm thinking he was doing his POV, and there was probably also something else. So sorry for not mentioning everybody, but yeah, you could have probably already seen it. But well, nonetheless, I will have a look today as well, especially at a bit of a more reasonable timing, maybe for the Europeans and others, but yeah, nonetheless. So that's gonna be right now Group B, round 1, between KeeN Clan, and on the other side we are going to be having Kagenotoshi. Kagenotoshi, is it? I'm gonna be having to right now remember all the names. Kagenotoshi, aka KanT. Well, that's how they wanted it, so that's how they're gonna be, of course, having that. And the first map is gonna be apparently Ghost Lake. So, quite a nice map, of course, offering some options for open raiding and, of course, some kind of active gameplay. As you're gonna be right off the bat looking at Grass and Groom. Well, quite a bit of a top level player, of course. You could have also seen him in the Pandora's box recently, same as Miniati. And, well, he is gonna be playing therefore with right now the Thor. You can see going for the armory build. And, well, he is gonna be in the pocket, if I see it correctly. Okay, yeah. So he's gonna be in the middle. We also do have, by the way, the spawn of the map. That is gonna be right now involving 2 gold mines, which is, I guess, no. We'll see if it's gonna be a bonus and for whom it's gonna be a bonus or not. Then we do have all the way topside Miniati for KeeN Clan, playing with Gaia. Okay, interesting combination so far. As you can see it now, that's gonna be that. It's interesting how it's actually lagging. You can see it now, the FPS, no. Well, it's gonna be Gaia at this point. But we'll see if they have ruined something with the performance, because I have so far streamed only once. Team games not for a long time. So I'm kinda hoping that they really haven't ruined the game even further. With some patches and changes. But well, nonetheless, we'll see how it's gonna be proceeding as time goes. But nonetheless, the last player here is gonna be there for Neymar. And he's gonna be performing interestingly here with Shennong. It's gonna be interesting choice. Basically, when you look at it, civilizations, they're gonna be all economically kind of minded. You are having Shennong, of course, with the farming in here, Gaia, obviously, and well, I guess she's gonna be already with the upgrade squad, of course. And well, all the way to the middle, and it's gonna be there for Grass and Groom, with also some extra economy through the armory upgrades that you have. That's gonna be Ulfsark. Can therefore check out who's gonna be having the double upgrades already in place. And for the opposing team, Kagenotoshi, it's gonna be already a name that we have seen in, oh well, we have streamed some players before in the community games a few months ago. And it's gonna be Angeltrilli. I think they are mostly Latinos, so it's gonna be probably Angel. So I'm gonna be assuming Angeltrilli. He's gonna be playing therefore with Hades. So far the lineup is definitely a bit more kind of defensive minded. I was at the start saying that maybe we could be having some aggro play, but maybe the players are wanting to be approaching it first a bit carefully. As into the pocket we have Trinette, that's gonna be Oranos. That is finally somebody a bit interesting as far as the aggro gameplay. At the same time he's in the pocket, so I guess it's gonna be a bit curious if he's gonna be trying to utilize the Sky Passage somehow. Somewhat offensively or not. And the last player all the way to the bottom is gonna be there for Dexito, and he's gonna be playing with Loki. He's a player that we do know very well from multiple competitions that we have already streamed of his. Now, as you can see, ages are going to be slowly but surely coming through. Can say it now, the very first one therefore was Shennong by Neymar on the other side. And well, of course, in the team games, you're gonna be having quite a bit of a different pace to the classic 1v1s as far as the casting, so not every time we are going to be having enough minutes to potentially look at the relics, so I'm gonna be having to potentially keep up with the chat at least a bit to see which ones players are gonna be collecting. But so far, it's nice to be seeing that they are thinking of them and they are trying to programmatically pick them up. It is certainly very good news here at the very start. But whatever the case, apparently it's gonna be there for a second TC here for Neymar. Then in the middle, that definitely looks like a second TC as well here. Okay, so it's gonna be just a boom fest apparently, right off the bat. Obviously, we don't entirely have too much of a clue of what's gonna be the game looking like with different with different settings instead of 1v1s. So the balance is gonna be probably all over the place. There were already all kinds of discussions. It always has been a bit of a thing, but again, Retold is kind of untested, especially lately, with what it's supposed to be and how is it balance-wise. So we'll see what kind of headache it's gonna be bringing, maybe more to the devs to potentially fix some things. But, let's not maybe expect entirely too much, considering what's going on even with 1v1s, for example. But nonetheless, it's gonna be right about now already a Sky Passage forward, so that's kind of what I was thinking, if maybe they could be trying to play that. Okay, apparently triple upwards, interesting. Wallin of course is gonna be following southwards, just to make sure. But it's gonna be passing through all that easily. This is, yeah, it is actually. It's looking all kinds of sketch, but this tree is gonna be blocking the path in there. Seems like it probably Dexito did right now play it correctly. But nonetheless, it seems like therefore the major activity is gonna be happening upwards. Of course, Hades advancing through Ares, so that we're gonna be having the early siege weapons in here. And that combined with Heimdall from Dexito. And therefore some extra right part now undermine. And much more importantly, the Aenears for basically boosting. This might be a bit of an interesting attack. Can say it now, the Gaia having some kind of preparation. She advanced through Oceanus. Yes, she did. Same as the Oranos. So Bite of the Shark are going to be upgrades you're gonna be aiming for here. Hopefully as soon as possible. You can see it now so far. Channels and some extra Caladria. Towers getting upgraded for Shennong apparently. That is curious. And something else. Not entirely too much. For the Caladria, also for the Oranos. But is there gonna be some kind of setup so far? No, Grassy Gnome is coming only now here for the first Longhouse, because obviously they went for the economy. Just the Gaia didn't. You know, maybe unusual if you're gonna be comparing it with some kind of maybe ideas about how it could be kind of proceeding, but nonetheless she's on the flank. They did kind of like manage to scout that the opponents are gonna be coming for them, and therefore it's making pretty good sense that they are going to be trying to at least put up some kind of opposition there. But nonetheless, the double army so far pretty strong. You can say right now we are not entirely seeing the Oranos yet. He is gonna be coming there. Yeah, unfortunate right now. Jesus Christ. Yeah, this game is absolute trash as far as this goes, unfortunately, so hopefully it's gonna be calming down a bit. But it's gonna be also a bit unfortunate fighting in Gaia's territory, because yeah, the Lush unfortunately absolutely tanks CPU performance. Always has, and they never fix that. So yeah, they just basically go in with optimization. Optimization is buy better computer. That's kinda how the devs today do it, not only them, kinda like a general idea. But nonetheless, so sorry for the experience, but nothing that I can do about it. Can be having basically like NASA level graphics card, but if the devs do not put in the effort, you're gonna be having problems with FPS with some older computers like I have. But nonetheless, that's gonna be right now plenty of videos coming up. Obviously, he was kinda trying to right now garrison, ungarrison kinda like immediately into the Kiklo pass in there. Unfortunately, they don't entirely have the space in there to do so, but I definitely appreciate the way. And you can say now he said he's gonna be forcing them to run away. Go for a bit of a healing and whatnot. Where did they even go? It's like straight died? What? Okay, they actually right now at least a few of them back. It's just a bit confusing battlefield at this point, but nonetheless, quite a bit important of course to be having a bit more of the Aenears in here. Thinking that I've seen so far maybe like just the one. There's a, oh wow, he's getting a new spawn in there as a Loki. Okay, that's pretty great. That is pretty great indeed. And well, really just kinda would have liked if we focused maybe a bit more to support them and kind of send them into the fight a bit more often, but obviously it's easier said than done. They're going to be having some limited favor with Loki and with the Norse, unless you're gonna be having some good fights. As you can see, the partner some first Kero Ballista also coming forward. Oh, considering of course the heavy Murmil army, it's making sense, but so far this is actually looking pretty solid for KanT, with K at the start and A there as well. Yeah, well, it's of course purposeful play on the short and the words in there. But nonetheless, so far decent, but they are not entirely able to finish with the TC, which they really should. At this point, they should be even focusing it. But they don't have entirely all that many units. You can say now they have plenty of throwing axemen and some archers in here. But that is pretty much it. And they're just gonna let in the TC destroy them. As it's of course getting healed. Well, so far even repaired a bit, it seems like. Here and there. And there's a repairer in there. There's a group of repairers rather. But there's finally some further Cyclops. And I'm hearing an Ainear tooting the horn. But not entirely seeing it. Here to the right, I guess. And finally TC is gonna be gone. With further developments, not entirely anything else going on. Literally just this fight on the way and underway. Whereas all the way through the south, we are going to be already running with Miniati, as he's gonna be reduced to not entirely too much of a great spot at this point. He is going to be at, what does he have, 38 pop limit? Or 38 rather on the villagers, so he didn't entirely lose everything. So this is not gonna be super comfortable, but that is what it is. So he's gonna be right now able to continue still playing. So all the way leftwards, we are gonna be forcing some further villages away. No, interesting attempt to block the path in, and he is going to be somewhat succeeding, but of course, you're gonna be at least a bit of an experience, you know how to block them, but this was already good enough, because any kind of second you are going to be able to get in, it's gonna be resulting into, let's say, now some further hits. And with archers pursuing, he lost about 3 or 4 citizens in there, and suddenly it's looking a whole lot less hot for Miniati, as far as how many villages he was managing to escape with. Alright, Machine Workshop Chinese finally right about now ready to potentially help out here as well. Of course, I had some funny pathfinding issues, but nonetheless, yeah, well, the hold here is gonna be fairly important. And frankly, since you're getting also the tower upgrade for the Shennong, who by the way did advance into the Heroic Age in between, that's why he wasn't present with the army. Maybe he could be adding some towers himself here. I'll be certainly liking that. And would be making excellent sense here to help out. But so far not entirely a thing. As you can see, now there's gonna be some further development with another sky passage. Loving that here from Trinette. It's gonna be of course right now pulling most of it right about now. Not entirely from necessarily all home. So just one military building, otherwise it's gonna be set up to the top. So it's gonna be a bit of a micro right now intensive affair, but at least he doesn't have to be there for investing into new buildings before he's gonna be wanting to and needing to. Okay then, so there we are. Of course, they didn't have all that much of a good target in there for the Cyclops to throw the unit into. But military-wise, we do have 227. Is it actually possible? I guess it is. Yeah, it's kinda alright. But it kinda just kinda seems a bit high compared to the opponent at 140, or opponents. Okay, TC at the back, sure. Again, I'm very much curious when people are gonna be realizing they don't have to make and take in the TCs. They can be just going for the village centers, sure it's gonna be a bit slower, but at that point you just don't need the TC all that much. However, when there's one free, I guess not much of a harm, especially considering that right now Dexito is probably not gonna be wanting to take the TC anytime soon. Loving the healing group here. It's gonna be actually fairly important because you can theoretically, at this point it's just gonna be opening all kinds of further windows into special strats and preparation. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to, what players are gonna be figuring out. As you can see right now there for the Caladrier, you can just gonna have a huge squad of Kalas and they're just gonna be automatically healing your teammates, for example. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe with this increased population limit, you could also be having a lot more specialization between the players and between the civilizations and gods, and therefore could be having some interesting results from it. The warmer horseshoes. Just looking at the cavalry here. Definitely want to pick up as soon as possible. And one kind of remaining at this point hero in here, and he's gonna be divided from the rest. And it's gonna be pretty nicely working out too. And the Neymar seems to be going for the Baihus, which is not a bad idea. It's gonna be somewhat similar to the Raijins, for example, with Japanese. So I'm kinda liking that now, and now they're just like getting too passive. Yeah, having medium Toxotai, can say it now, gonna be having Eos buff or horror in there. Plus, that's gonna be there for what? Karel of Hippolyta. For the extra HP, it's actually pretty great. Cyclops, fine. No, they should be just consolidating, because at this point they are letting the opponents catch up on the army. They have enough siege weapons in there, frankly. So I'm not entirely certain if they need to be waiting for anything. You can see heroic ages coming up for all of them. That might be kind of like what Angel is waiting for. Oh, wow. That's a lot of INARs. If he's gonna be right about now properly controlling them, he could be having like an almost infinite loop of the bonuses for his and his teammates. That's gonna be pretty huge. You can see Southwest Miniaty already adding at least some kind of army. Otherwise, he does have only 32 on the Echo, with the others just gonna reach in 80s from what I'm kind of looking at here. Of course, the other side is gonna be some 50s, somewhat around there, since they were a bit more active. But the power of the economy for orange and yellow is gonna be fairly important. Okay, then. Can't say the partner is gonna be also the extra farm still taken practically, but we need to be going for the extra engagement here all the way southwards, so some devil passage is gonna be upon us. No, and well, with the INARs, apparently they are going to be fortunately kind of wasted here, slightly. You need to be really just gonna putting them up upon manual control of the special power so that they can be invoking it in the middle of the fight. But this is scary army. Scary army, especially from Hades. Right now he's gonna be having such a huge DPS. Plus, of course, the precision in there from the ballistics. That's also gonna be fairly important. So TC gone, and well, army kind of consolidating here. Durmay obviously theoretically could be fairly nice, because if he could be getting somewhere into archers here from behind, he could be having some pretty decent results out of it. No, and now we can be getting a lot more. Wow. Look at the Phoebes. They still are pretty OP even after the nerf. You can see just deleted practically most of the archers. Hit points also almost go in that. So any kind of advantage that currently Kage were having is not entirely gone, but half of it is gone. And really, I was going to say that Durmay would be excellent if they were trying to focus the units that they should be. So therefore the archers and also, well, the throwing X-Men, but it didn't entirely happen. Claiming weapons, of course, from each side right now gonna be already depleted. But nonetheless, looks like it right now the frontline battlefield and frontline heroics kinda don't want to be necessarily quoting that upgrade in the game from the Kyklops. Also on the Kyklopas apparently paid quite well off. There have been so many of them. 7 Kyklopas still alive, by the way, even through that huge fight and huge battle that took place here. No, and otherwise to the top side, nothing much. I guess gonna be just some kind of mustering field possibly in here. And okay, gonna be definitely needing some kind of help. Maybe some kind of extra Ox card to the top side for the efficiency would be nice. But whatever the case, that's gonna be right about now quite nice. Closing in upon the enemies, upon Neymar and Grassengroom, as Town Center has been finished for whom? For Miniaty, apparently. Really? Or was it finally the village center somewhere? I just gonna hurt them maybe finishing a TC somewhere. But well, whatever the case, you're gonna be, I guess, finding the information somewhere very soon. If that's gonna be the case. And yeah, that's the village center. Nice. Just the first game is gonna be already showcasing this power that, well, for years at this point almost, has been forgotten in Retold. So nice to be seeing that we're gonna be there for having some kind of proper realizations how to potentially come back on Retold. It doesn't necessarily have to be revolving around just DCs as it was in the original therefore anymore. And that's plenty of shards helping out at least in the middle of the fight. But the population limit, again, you can see the military is absolutely, oh well, not entirely in that much of a great shape for the KeeNs. So we're gonna be getting our Yinglong here helping out. Okay, can be doing something to the archers and the throwing axemen. At the same time, it could be of course pulled down pretty quickly by them as well. Maybe he's not gonna be receiving some at least bit of assistance. But the pop limit 300 on the military for Tage and 140, so basically even less than a half for KeeN clan. No, because at this point Red is gonna be somewhat non-existent. He's gonna be having to rebuild, and look at actually where he's rebuilding though as well. Where he managed to hide the villages all the way to Perth, very nice. By the way, just randomly first line and irrigation economically for him. Wasted myth unit in here by orange. No, Not entirely right about now, thinking that KeeNs are having that much of a good chance here. This was very well played by Kagenotoshi rather, Toshi, in there, because they just like didn't even let the opponents breathe all that much. They just kinda assumed KeeNs that it's gonna be a bit of a slower game. Now frankly, some of the community games, or a lot of the community games that we have streamed in our community sessions, were kinda focusing on 2 DCs, so I can't entirely blame them. It kind of is a bit of a meta, but as you can see, probably not entirely for too long. And I'm very happy for that. As of course aggro gameplay is a lot more interesting and just kinda nice to be seeing the proof of concept that, well, maybe just gonna go in for some extreme echo. It's not gonna be entirely the best of ideas. Okay. It's a bit of a nice little sneak in here at the back. It seems to be all right now paying off here from yellow. And no, well, that's not gonna be there for the game completely over. Because yellow is still very much right now in the game. If you're gonna be looking at him, then 100 population limit. You can see right now army as well, fully pumped. And for orange, decent economy as well. Otherwise army on about like 60. It's at least something, I guess. But yeah, definitely at this point looks like that Grassing Room might be the possible carry. Red obviously is gonna be still having and trying to rebuild, even though at least a few units are coming up. But just like doesn't have any kind of upgrade, so it's not gonna be too super relevant. Whereas for blue, economy, yes. Population limit as well on the army. Teal is going to be kind of weaker economically still. 77 here at 22 minutes almost. Yeah, well, even after activity, it needs to be getting a bit higher up. And for the last player, for the Oranos, graphical bug apparently in here. But he's gonna be right partner, quite nicely buffed up. 90 population limit on the army, full villages. And look at the queue of the Kontari in here. Just needs to be finding the way for the upgrades. And Helios, well, nice to be seeing this boy as well. In 1v1s, you're not entirely seen him at all. As he used to be quite a bit common, even in the original game, even in 1v1. But here, people are not entirely using him too much. Not entirely as much. I guess it's gonna be maybe just the size of the army and therefore the abilities to defend maybe and fight at multiple places quite often. Not sure. But yeah, well, the teleport, I always enjoyed it. And it's always providing some really significant tactical advantage. Okay, so that's not gonna be entirely unfortunately working out here for Grassing Room. Even though good effort, because this used to be blue some time ago. So that's gonna be quite a bit of a nice comeback in there. As all the way towards red is finally gonna be having some active army. No, and well, what happened in the right corner is at this point gonna be happening from the side build of Miniaty that we have noticed some time ago already. So this is just like quite nice. Overall, this game, if it were some kind of normal community game, it probably would have been over for like 5 minutes at minimum. And not people wouldn't be entirely trying all those shenanigans at the back and whatnot. But here, since it's competitive, then of course they're gonna be putting in the effort. No, let's face it, right? KeeNs are probably favorites for the title, so they definitely are having something to prove in here. And therefore making excellent sense that they are going to be attempting not to start the tournament with a loss. But so far, it's looking fairly complicated. And I'm thinking that complicated means near impossible. They put in an excellent fight, but the game is mostly in the hands of Kagenotoshi. And basically it's up to them to throw it. Even though, well, they can be trying their best. You can see there's still gonna be a bit of a side build here at the back, but the question is if he's gonna be having enough opportunity to do something with it. And evidently, gonna be even trying to help Miniaty with the top side in there. But this is very nice because these kinds of side builds and whatnot still usually shows good team communication. Because it can like just like you need to be talking with your teammates, what kind of plans you have, and that you don't resign too early, and therefore that there's some kind of realistic chance of maybe making something happen. And again, the side builds, they very often can turn battles around, because you're just gonna be losing your economy from that, and while you could be doing well on the offensive, you're just gonna be losing soldiers bit by bit, and then you can't replace them as quickly. So it is a very much a possibility, and not much of a need to be resigning too super early if you are not really completely and utterly destroyed. But so far, economy for yellow is working fairly nicely in here. No. But it's Grassing Room, so of course economical upgrades are not gonna be present, unfortunately. It's something that's maybe a bit of a challenge. By the way, what is he having? Yeah. was kinda thinking if he could be maybe slinging a bit. Maybe right about now actually the Shennong could be helping with the Gaia. Or to the Gaia rather. That is gonna be some good spot for a camera where I'm gonna be talking about things probably here. Loki having some high gold and wood, classic. It's okay for the Hades, and oh, Oranos is actually floating quite a ton. What is it? Some 6,000 resources he's floating in here. That needs to be in some kind of optimization, even though currently it's not popped. So it just needs to be properly clicking in at this point. You can see he doesn't even have all that much of a heavy queue. So I guess he's maybe right now focusing on the battlefield. Not sure if he's maybe trying to somewhat control the Galadriel. Maybe that could be a thing. But I'm really enjoying how he's having actually so many of them from the start. It's really something... I really do wonder what kind of strategies you're gonna be seeing. You're having overall so many games coming up. That's gonna be... We have 3 divisions, 3 groups per 6, right? And 1 per 7 if I'm not mistaken. Thinking something like that. And therefore we're gonna be having 3 rounds per... So basically 12 matches each week for the upcoming month approximately. As far as the group stage. So we should be definitely seeing some kind of development of strats. And again, I really wonder if you're gonna be seeing some specialization, because at this point the high pop limit on Retold might be allowing that. You can see it now, yellow has to be moving again as he has been discovered. Good job by Dexito paying attention in here. And you can see to the top side Angel. Oh, but nonetheless, powerful army is gonna be right now finding its way into the homeland of Grassingroom, where, well, we don't really have too many siege weapons here, frankly. And killing this with archers, no, if he had burning pitch then maybe. But we don't. So that's a bit of a shame. Oh, because you're not mythic. Ah, okay. That's a good reason not to be having therefore that yet, as he's gonna be right now coming forward, therefore into Artemis. No, yeah, it's making sense at this point because they are leading and they just gonna need to be closing the game somehow. So yeah, getting the earthquake. It's probably gonna be breaking my computer, I'm afraid, with the FPS drop then. But well, we'll see if it's gonna be holding or not. You can see champion Dark Swordsman, all bronze by the way, with all the fancy upgrades for Neymar. By the way, the heavy Toxotai are gonna be bronzed as well. For yellow, heavy berserks, double bronze and copper. Oh, it's kinda like, as I was saying a bit earlier, that he could be having more economical upgrades. I mean, like, sure, it's a signature gameplay for Grassingroom, but at the same time, he also is having a lot of work to do and a lot of investments to do into the army. So I can kind of understand that he doesn't have entirely resources to spare. But it's kind of like the vicious circle, right? If you don't improve your economy, you don't have the resources after, right? So you're just gonna need to be finding the point where it is useful to invest into it, because you're gonna be thinking that the game will be still taking a bit longer in there. So I guess Grassingroom didn't entirely find that moment in the game for himself. So that's maybe something to focus upon, because it's quite a bit different in team games. Because 1v1, if you are gonna be not doing entirely too well, then you are gonna be having limited chances for comeback. In team games, that's of course quite a bit different story. Quite a bit better chance of it, than if your teammates are gonna be able to cover for a moment. So you should be gonna bit more assuming the game will be longer. And therefore, putting a bit more of an importance into therefore your economy. Nonetheless, you can see right now the Gaia will be having at least some kind of army helping out here. And since it's destroyers without any kind of counterplay, yeah, they're not doing too badly. And he's trying to actually house right now Angel. You can see right now he's down to 148 population limit, as the KanT are gonna be finally in place from Trinette. Full iron. Full iron already in play. Gonna be also right now having some earthquake. And oh well, of course the mythic leges are gonna be missing in there, for example for yellow. How much favor does he have? Not much. I was kinda halfway hoping that maybe he's gonna be able to unleash some further flame weapons, but he had to be using the favor already a bit earlier. So you're gonna be right now moving back southwards, where Angel, we are just missing the siege weapons here. It's kinda like the problem why we can't finish this up finally. We are just basically pushing with archers, and we don't have any kind of petroboli, nothing. And it's gonna be curious to choose where to actually cast the earthquake in the end. Maybe if you could really cast it here, I'm gonna be taking some yellow houses, military buildings, practically opening the base if you cast it about here in front of the TC. It could work, maybe. And he could be therefore just gonna charge in with the army, claiming the ground, maybe even the TC. And I think casting it here is a good spot with what they tactically currently need. So I'm thinking that they should be already right now pulling in and pulling the plug on that as well. There we go. He cast it approximately on the TC and all northwards. So yeah, it's a good spot. Making sense, and that's where the GG apparently is gonna be coming up as Grassing Room and Miniati are gonna be off. No, and Neymar, as you can see, he was trying right now all the way to the bottom, having some fun stuff. Again, you can see right now against Fire Giants from the Loki. But the team is gonna be done, and the game is gonna be therefore over as well. It's by the way really funny looking at the FPS that you're gonna be keeping the low FPS even when the game is paused. You'll be expecting that the FPS should be just kinda like jumping up at that point. Then you can just kinda see that it's gonna be a problem of some of the special effects or whatnot that are still activated. But yeah, well, that's how it goes. No, and that was quite a bit of an exciting opening in here. And I'm thinking already just like the first surprise, right, in the first match, that KeeNs are not going to be completely dominating here. So good job by Kagenotoshi, as you're gonna be there for giving them the first victory in here. But we are playing all 3 games in the group stage, so we are gonna be still having 2 more. And therefore, full-on comeback is therefore very much a possibility that can happen in here. Okay, so let's have a look therefore at some statistics here. It's really just a shame that they, really, like a year ago they broke it. You were having a population limit on soldiers and on civilians, on each of the player in here. You don't have to be kind of like clicking and changing. They broke it and they never fixed that. Well, definitely making it quite a bit more annoying to spectate team games. And really, the spectating experience, especially with team games, was actually much better on Woobly, on the balance patch, with the tools developed by Rebels Rising, than what we have gotten with an official release. Well, sad story, but that's how it is. But you're gonna be, of course, learning and seeing all of that during the progress of the tournament. As, therefore, for the orange, we are gonna be therefore right now stuck on the novel all bronze, but that's because he was having a... No, I mean, like, he actually was having the mythical age a bit sooner. So for him, it was having to spend a lot more than he could then save upon the upgrades. That's gonna maybe make some kind of system in it. So that's gonna be there for first KeeNs. There's gonna be some remaining yellow, for example, here. Never given up on the back builds. Reminds me of Ragnarok's. He always back build in team games. Can't say it now. Copper weapons and bronze armor and iron. So basically one of each. In the end for him. Some remaining red unit here, or... Hey, actually even the trade right now going on here. It's just a Stimphalian bird. Looking for some unit for it. Is he having some military actually? But like 20, so should be having something somewhere. Oh, actually, civilians are gonna be also including trade, and there were some llamas, so maybe he actually doesn't have a unit. Oh well, I guess you're not gonna be therefore able to see that. But he was having like some basic coppers, at least the oracles in here, not noticing those, so those are gonna be helpful enough here. Double copper only. No, and for the opposing armies, can say it now, champion Peltas for the Hades, all bronze as well. He wasn't entirely too super long in the mythical age, so I guess he's gonna be there for giving that maybe. It's quite an intense game. Ever since the start, of course, because of the triple. But I really enjoyed how they combined their forces and the abilities of their civilizations forward built by Norse, Sky Passage from the Oranos, and of course Hades, he was having his own side in there. So all bronze right, but now for blue. Green cavalrymen are gonna be there for all fit with iron, and well, you have seen of course this, so yeah, already right about now seen that the upgrade lines are fairly decent in there for the right team, and for the villages there for economically, Weaver for Grassing Room, again, that's how he likes to play, but he's gonna be having to learn to invest into the economy a bit more. Team games are different than running ones, So that is, if they want to succeed, he needs to be abandoning his playstyle a bit, in my opinion. And ducks, that's going to be one of each as well. Obviously, farms are going to be for free for the Shennong and for the Gaia economy. You can say now it's going to be having one of each as well, interestingly. Nicely put in interest and interest import into the farms. This is exactly how it should be. Farms really are quite a bit important. Can say it now some blue villages here. That's gonna be there for pretty solid. Just missing there for the flat control in there. For green, he is second levels and the last one. Could be getting there for a bit deeper. And for teal, he is going to be quite a bit lower. I mean, like the plow is definitely very sub-ideal, even though he didn't entirely need as much food, because of course he was having mostly the archers in there, maybe some kind of a paspis or whatnot here and there, not sure. But if you're gonna be improving, of course, your economy, even on the resource that you don't need, that still means you can be putting the villages into work on something else. So there practically isn't an economical upgrade that wouldn't be useful. You're just gonna need to be thinking about it in a different way slightly. Nonetheless, so that's gonna be this fun, and now let's gonna cycle through the players to see if somebody was floating something too high. Apparently orange, no, near the end you can see 6,000 resources. But I guess the game was already kind of like way too off and way too down and away from them that even slinging at this point would be making too much of a sense. You can see fairly heavy queue. And getting the irons in there. As far as the upgrades, you can say it now, even some trade for the Gaia with Bowsaw, whereas the Loki, he's going to be there for, no, well, a bit overdoing the wood, obviously. Something that could be a bit of optimization, maybe just gonna lose in some of the villages therefore if he's not entirely able to spend it. And only now he's getting ballistics for the throwing axeman. 30 minutes of game only. And of course also for shooting buildings and stuff. Hades is gonna be having 4,000 food, also a bit lopsided, but maybe also accounting for them already winning. So of course then things at the end do escalate a bit. Almost 10,000 resources extra for the green. Yeah, he was actually floating even like 5 minutes ago. So he could have been either helping his teammates or reducing the amount of wills. You can see he's still having auto queue on villagers right now. And he just like doesn't need it. So yeah, that's something to be, of course, keeping an eye upon for sure. But let's look therefore into the post game. And it's gonna be, of course, right now also a bit more complicated as opposed to all the 1v1s. So who is a bit outstanding? No, definitely Grass and Groom. That might be just gonna caused by the fact that he was having to fight and basically play multiple places at once. But this one is fairly serious in here. It's a lot of right now resources lost. Can say it now, blue is gonna be not entirely too significantly better. Because I mean, like, yellow is having practically just this. And there's a few places here and there. But blue is having a few more. This one is kinda bad here. No, that's gonna be running out of gold. And he fighting in the front lines. On the front lines, sorry. So, missing actually switching them into different gold. It's a bit unfortunate. Could have shift clicked or could have shift clicked. But sometimes the shift click is not working properly on Retold, unfortunately. So, who knows if maybe this wasn't the case. Otherwise, it doesn't seem it's gonna be too bad here. Maybe some orange, slightly green, but yeah, nothing too bad. At least from my opinion. For the civilians, obviously right now. Yeah, the Gaia not entirely having too much of a good time here. Being kept so low, but still was having some good presence in their miniaty. Some threats from behind. But really also just kind of good job for KanT for being able to fight against that. Because these kinds of back builds, they very often can be deadly. Because they're going to be hard to notice. You're not going to be expecting that. And therefore, thinking this needs to be highlighted. That they were countered. Because they often are a pain. And also that they were reacted to fairly decently. Very often you're going to be seeing players trying to kind of like halfway focus that and still focus in the front lines, but it's usually best to be given it almost full focus, deal with them first, and then full focus on the front lines, because yeah, just like the long-term division of forces usually doesn't lead into anything all that great in those cases. You just need to be distinctly getting rid of it. You can say it now some losses here for orange, but nonetheless, you can say it now this is right now what kept the game going into half an hour, even though it kind of was decided maybe at 15 minutes. And then it was basically just about if Kages are gonna be somehow losing it or not. But okay, on the military you can see, oh yeah, that was the big battle. No, and distraction practically here of Minieti. And you can see, he was still very much having some kind of ideas and plans in the game still, with Teal basically like constantly keeping a huge amount of archers, never had any kind of significant drop. So nicely done. And that's gonna be right now one of the problems in the team games, that if you're gonna be getting some kind of early advantage in the classical age, and you're gonna be reaching high pop limits, it's gonna be inherently harder for the opponent to make a comeback. That's something that wasn't happening in the original game, with a limited pop limit, or lower pop limit. There were much better mechanisms for a possible comeback then, because of it. So now we'll see how the players are gonna be using it and abusing it. But again, just like a more of an incentive to be playing strong classical age, in my opinion. No, and for the resources, that's gonna be quite a wind vane in here. Can say it about now, that's gonna be there for the Hades slow together with the Loki. The others, of course, with the extra economies are gonna be upwards. And Trinette is interestingly high with the Oranos. Considering he wasn't having the early upgrades, it's actually a bit interesting he's so well doing here. Of course, at 40 minutes, we're gonna be having some distinct differences. But again, Grassing Group and Neymar, what really kept the KeeN clan alive. You can see how significantly above they are. Almost like, what is it, 2,400 resources above the best of the enemy team, Trinette. So if it's gonna be like in total per teams, then you can say it about now the differences. Yeah, it's obviously there. You can see some 5,000 here, some 10%. But at 14 minutes, if you're gonna be thinking about 10%, then basically if you're gonna be basically like somewhere like 1,000 resources in 1v1 maybe even less. So yeah, not entirely huge differences. Look at the great economy here by Grassingrum that he was able to keep for such a long time, even under all that pressure. So good job. And when we see right now all of them there approximately. So at the end you can see they are gonna be still winning economically, Grassingrum and Neymar. And of course the opponents kinda similar-ish, I guess, to each other. So they were within the eyesight of each other, but nonetheless, much more importantly, for example, at the end, Angel was having some extra resources on his account that he didn't really need. So you can see he didn't really need the economy for where they were in the game. So for some extra statistics, 907 favor. Jesus Christ, Trinette was having millions of oracles. I didn't even notice that, and that was a bit of a hell by Grassingrum to Minieti. But that's some kind of, wow, what the hell is actually this? How many oracles does he have at the end? 9. Very good. Very good indeed. Liking that. Gaia was ending with 3, which is kind of nice as well. But that favor is really wild. Can see Grassingrum 600 is pretty decent. Dexito wasn't having as many good fights in there as you can see, and he was Loki even. Still wasn't able to match Grassingrum there. And 540 is not too bad for Angel either here for the Hades. But Village Peaks, of course, it's gonna be even fairly high for Minieti in the end, when you compare with Trinette. No, and the military, what do we have around here? Of course, high pop limits in general. Minieti obviously couldn't entirely reach such a number himself. After being destroyed in the early stages. Dexito, interestingly, really kind of low statistics, and this is also tying to the low favor. Or kind of like comparatively low favor. in here to Grassing Room, for example. He simply didn't get into all that many great fights. As you can tell, where he could be farming it. Playing with the Ulfsax in there, evidently. And for the technologies, no, fairly nice upgrades. Definitely glad to be seeing this. As you can see, for 45, maybe just a bit too greedy here. Yeah, the second TCs, they in the end weren't. Not much of a good idea. I mean, like when you look at the civilizations, Oranos, Hades, and Loki. I mean, like the Hades is a bit maybe interesting in there. But the others are certainly gods that are gonna be probably wanting to attack early. So, going for such an upgrade on the flank. If he were maybe pocket, if it were a Grassing Room in the pocket going for 45, then I guess sure, why not? But the flank, yeah, that's maybe just a bit too overconfident beginning there. We'll see how it's gonna be informing their gameplay further. Only 10 Caladriae, and we have still seen, like, I don't know, almost 8 or what was it, near the end. So they basically weren't dying for Trinette. So excellent job in controlling them. 22 Cyclopes and 13 Aineri. Very nice. No NGG. So that was that for the first game for us. Yeah, now gonna be moving into the game number 2. No, and that's gonna be there for home map for the other team and for the other clan, and you're gonna be playing there for just like normal plains. Steppe there for Steppe, yes, plains is the one from Pandora's box. It's right now the Steppe, and the civilizations are gonna be there for, no, quite a bit different. You can see Grassing Room is gonna be choosing Set. Probably should be there for at this point, expecting a bit more of a, I'm thinking, active approach to the game. As you do have yet again Gaia here. Miniat is gonna be apparently continuing with that plan. This time he's gonna be getting a pocket position. Now he can be advancing for 45. I wonder if he's gonna be this time faster, but I think that now he can. But not gonna be complaining about quicker advance anyway. So all the way southwards, Neymar is gonna be going in with Kronos. Well, Set, Kronos, I'm kinda thinking this is maybe gonna be there for classical age from the KeeNs. So on the other side, they're gonna be facing Trinette, playing with Gaia himself this time around on the flank. Interesting. So you're gonna be seeing some switches. It's gonna be from the Oranos. Can see Dexito in the middle is gonna be Zeus. No, I'm very much looking forward how Zeus is gonna be played. There's gonna be some attempt at maybe KanT raiding. In team games, you probably could be having some more of a reasoning to do so. Or if it's gonna be some classic Hoplites. And last one to the top, that's gonna be Angeltrilli, yet again playing with the Hades, going for the strength in here, and, well, Temple coming up. Very quickly, but he needs to be right now gathering for Walls of Erebus, so doesn't necessarily want to be waiting too long, I guess. But, well, this time I guess you're gonna be having an opportunity to have a quick gander at some of the relics. Heavenly Jeweled Spear is gonna be around here, pretty nice. Be nice maybe for some max range of the melee attack. Just kinda looking at all the units in here listed. And is that therefore meaning that really Hoplites are not affected by this relic? Or is it just kinda left out? It's a bit odd. Not really 100% certain about that. Then we do have Forboy. Okay, I guess. Charon's Obol, not the greatest. Head of Orpheus on the other hand, that is pretty nice. That's gonna be certainly helping out. Another relic is gonna be Canopic Jar of himself, of course, super great, as you're gonna be having some first deconstruction, and that will be... Okay, so it's gonna be for the Green Temple from Dexito. That's a bit interesting because, I mean, like, considering, for example, the Walls of Erebus, it might be legitimately more useful to be deconstructing the temple for the Hades, because you're just gonna be blocking him from getting that upgrade. Zeus obviously does a favor at the start, so he's gonna be able to get some easy Olympic parentage anyway. Potentially right now building up for... They can say he's having 2 villages spraying. Okay, what is he actually advancing us? It's gonna be Athena. So it won't be anything with Centaur. So I was gonna almost eye him a bit of a Centaur build in here, but nonetheless, still getting plenty of gold, so looks like it's gonna be a standardized army. And we didn't finish with some of the relics. You can see it now on the left side, Ogre Bit and Helm. Sure, I guess. Hecate torches, yes, boss. Woven calipers maybe in the later stages. Feather of Jingwei for some wood. And one of the last ones is gonna be there for Jade Hair. With unit extra speed is actually something that's gonna be pretty useful in my opinion. And arrows of the Alpha. Well, obviously elven arrows are always pretty great. With another relic here in the midst. That's gonna be Demeter's throne. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Saving the villager time. And therefore allowing you to get a bit more economy through that. But again, Head of Orpheus is pretty great here. No, nonetheless, so what are we gonna be there for doing now? Military building right now prepared for Neymar. In the early classical age. You can see that tons of goats. It's gonna be a bit of a thing here for everybody, I guess. Oh, almost everybody. Looks like it may be yellow, not entirely as much. Can't see it now, therefore gonna be going into military barracks, and it was classic. Both guys are advancing through Oceanus. Nothing new. There's gonna be right now Ptah for the set. Kronos, of course, Prometheus. Hades is gonna be again getting Ares. Cool. But this time he's gonna be starting from his home. Yeah, at this point it feels like they're gonna be expecting rather the opponents to come to them first. As Gotos, you're having really plenty of them around here. Whereas for the opposition for the set, no, well, looked like it maybe it could be a bit lower. But there were a few hidden here beyond the statue of Set. He's already having right now also 2 monuments. 2 monuments for him. Okay, so is he gonna be trying to get some budgets? Or is that supposed to be some extra upgrades? Now, so far a bit hard to say, as all the way into the midst you're gonna be therefore prepared with some first hoplite. And that was just double military academies. Okay, so we go in straight only for the infantry. That will be there for the major idea here. Double barracks, sure, classic. Archer range times 2, so apparently right now Angel is gonna be continuing with what worked in the last game excellently. Millions of archers everywhere. But then there, he was also having support of his teammates. That's not entirely as much of a case and thing here. Okay, Sentinel's home, sure. It looks like that grassing room is kinda just testing what the opponent already has. And if there could be some kind of opportunity for an attack, you can say now village-wise we are on the same level. Otherwise we do have on the military kind of slight advantage for KeeN. Not entirely by much. Really. Market for the Zeus. Interesting. Like he's not entirely advancing into heroic age yet. As he's trying to get some economical upgrades currently. So that market's a bit odd. Maybe could have been spending the resources in another way. But yeah, well, nonetheless, you're gonna be seeing soon enough, as it looks like, therefore the push is already on the way. This time they're gonna be going for the slow version, of course. They didn't coordinate into one spot. You can also go for forward build, of course, even if you don't have Norse. Like, no reason not to. Yeah, sure, it's gonna be a bit of a trip for the villager. But then everything else is gonna be easier. Easier and quicker. The Cyclops already upgraded. Now we're getting some interesting upgrades. Apparently towers and electrum bullets for grass. So for red. Nothing much. Theft of fire right now for the Kronos. Economical upgrade for the Zeus. Then we do have right now for the Hades. Still more army. You can see he's gonna be wanting to get some upgrade into archers. And he probably should be at this point prioritizing it. Because at this point he's already having plenty enough units. So therefore getting the upgrade into medium archers would be having some pretty good value. Maybe even more than a few more archers added into the army. And the last one is gonna be there for the Gaia. Yeah, also not entirely any kind of important upgrades. Just gonna be getting the medium turbo upgrade coming through. Like at this point, the army, of course, from both Dexito and Angel, they're gonna be having plenty of big boys. Bit of a shame, of course, that the Minotaurs are not having any kind of crush damage. So, something that you need to be utilizing mostly against just the units. They can be theoretically tanking against the buildings as well, some resource or some damage, for sure. But they are not entirely gonna be as super important as the Cyclopes are. No, but the overall armies, you can see they are a bit better for Grass and Groom's team. So 146 against 130 on the overall pop limit. So where is Blue? Blue is actually trying to, and he was trying to fight somewhat on his own against Yellow. And now it seems like he's gonna be therefore forced into one big engagement. And we do seem to be having at this point enough heroes for the KeeNs, so the Cyclopes are gonna be a lot less useful at this point. As he can be also somewhat interestingly trying to block the path in with the time shift. I mean, considering how much of an open field it is, it wasn't entirely too hard to dodge it, but appreciate the thought. Appreciate the thought and idea that came over Neymar. Is he actually getting some further favor right now? The Zeus not like barely. Yes, he's getting himself only with one villager favors, so I was just kind of thinking if maybe are we getting some further Minotaurs? And if so, could be therefore theoretically getting Labyrinth already and improving them. But evidently that's not gonna be really the case. As the army, for example, for the Kronos is actually pretty huge. You can see right now he's gonna be having what, about 60 population limit. Whereas for the Gaia, for example, they're going to be having some 55, and Blue Gaia is gonna be even higher, some almost 70, some 67. Currently he's having a pop limit, but nonetheless it seems like we're gonna be about now having things coming to a head, with forward buildings also coming forward from Neymar. I'm not entirely certain if this was some kind of attempt at blocking the path in, but I would be thinking that maybe this is gonna be more about having some military in the front lines. But again, temples are gonna be taking ages ever since the patch a few months ago. So it's definitely gonna be having to wait a long time before maybe some kind of the Prometheans would be able to be trained for the fight. Now, but nonetheless, it seems like at this point that KeeNs are gonna be maybe ready to potentially return the favor from the last game. You can say now 240 population limit for them against only 160 for Tages. No, economically same, but this military difference is quite a bit damning. And you're also gonna be on top of it having even a heroic age from the Kronos, which is very, very good. Well, he advanced through Traitor. Want to be potentially having some behemoths forward, and that's maybe also why he was trying to get the temple inside here, or inside the enemy territory, which in the end did, yes, he did actually right now work, and did finish with that. So therefore, you can see they are the behemoths, and we are gonna be having some actual, real and good early siege here. You can see now some nice yellow army here from Miniat also helping out. Again, the population limit disadvantage at this point is way too much for Dexito's team, and now they can be right now handling all of these myth units in there. And even though Trinette does have some huge army of Turmei, we don't even have any kind of heroes in there to help out with literally anything. But it looks like that every time they stop him, they're gonna be getting some decent amount of hits into them, especially if they're gonna be trying to weave through the enemy formations in here. It's not entirely too super recommended to be done. Oh, and it seems like this is gonna be quite a bit of a... Oh, well, there's already a resign right now coming forward. I was going to say that it's gonna be probably one-sided from this point forward, because you're not entirely seeing any kind of activity at all from the other players. Maybe some kind of attempts at counter-offensive, nothing along those lines whatsoever. Rather, actually, everything focusing here into the middle and from both sides. You know, and that's gonna be right now resulting into KeeNs after a bit of a quicker game than the last one, proving that, well, they are gonna be meaning things very seriously, and they're gonna be therefore tying the match at 1-1 after first games. The one that's gonna be right now leaving us with still one more here to be played. But before that, let's check out what we are going to be currently having in the statistics. It's gonna be pretty low at this point. It's very early, so some mediums, maximum, some kind of basics. Even though this is for grassing room, actually fairly nice. Electrum bullets, added with some double copper upgrades in there. Murmills for yellow is gonna be full copper. Actually, I was really thinking this is gonna be lower, but they are well prepared here, the KeeNs, for the fighting. And the Tourmay for orange. Those are gonna be the ones without ups this time around. Blue, also nothing. Green. It's gonna be fighting there. Medium Hoplites and nothing extra. And for teal, he's right now having some arches upwards. At least Angel's Bow of Horror he managed to get. Remember both of these upgrades a bit earlier. Precute, but nonetheless. For the economies. Dexito will be Hendax and Pickaxe. No, we are basically having only one player in the heroic age, so Hendax and Pickaxe should be just a general theme in here. Maybe besides Grassing Room. And apparently not only him. Seems like it also Angel didn't entirely get there. Gaia should be automatic, I'm thinking. Kronos is also right now in. At least the pickaxe for the Ege, he's gonna be getting grassing room here. No, and float at this time of the game, I guess it's not gonna be anything too relevant. I can say it now some decent food, so therefore H advance for Gaia, I guess. For Miniaty will be soon. For the Kronos, he's having a really high amount of food in there. At the same time, Favor decentish, could be getting there for more oracles, and therefore might have been getting some higher amount of behemoths. Maybe some kind of slight wish for Heroic Age as well here for teal. And now the guy in blue. Trinette will be able to get some Heroic Age soon, it seems like. But didn't entirely get there as far. Nice pyramid. No, and what do we have here? Idols, that's gonna be Trinette this time. It's gonna be having some higher ones, but again, they were under, at that point, already some level of pressure. Otherwise, nothing too bad. It was a shorter game as well, so I guess figures. Neymar, though, that's something to be careful about, considering they were the active party in the fights. Dexito, of course, because they've also getting pushed. Same situation here with blue there for, of course, earlier. So just for Dexito here. Something... Oh, for Dexito, for Neymar, sorry. For Neymar to think about. Villages kind of understandable. You can say it now, red, green, and teal. So therefore the non-Atlanteans. And a bit of a different level of their own. And of course the Heroic Age right now. Knocking Neymar down a peg, but of course all within norm. Within norm and normal. As you can see, the huge army for Grassing Room. Not this time. Well, he was carrying with the early army from the start. They learned from the last game, it looks like. That maybe just being too slow is not entirely all that advantageous and that useful. Of course, distraction for of Angel. Most of the army absolutely demolished and never managed to get into anything too super important and relevant. Otherwise, the others were kind of middlings. Now it looks like I get all the resources here. That's going to be, of course, a bit stratified at the start with, understandably, the set in the last position. But really, the difference here of 500 resources, half of what he has, is a bit extreme as well. Interesting, you can see the Gaia's exactly the same. You'll be thinking that maybe it could be a bit different, considering they might be having some different walk times through resources. But I guess it may be somewhat neutralized itself. neutralized each other. Five minutes, still keeping some 500 here between the extremes. It's really kind of low even for that set though. No, but for basically the difference to the others is not too terrible. So I guess it's gonna be some kind of specific players in here. 900 difference between Angel and Trinette. Together with Neymar practically as well. You can see also pretty high here. And then he even actually has overtaken the others and having the highest amount of resources gathered. But nonetheless, well, at the end, this is right now gonna be still 4, 5, and therefore let's get maybe all 6 somewhere. There we go, approximately. So that's gonna be right now. Neymar still, actually, even in the last game, he's doing and putting quite some effort into economy, evidently. Trinette next. Yellow is gonna be Miniaty. He was quite a bit behind though. You can say it on 700. So I guess a bit more investing into the military. And that's probably right now gonna be the important difference. Well, and this is gonna be what, 2200 between the last and the first. Between Hades and the Kronos. No, well, again, Neymar doing pretty well economically. So do we have something curious here? Again, some huge favor. This time it's gonna be for Angel. No, again, as I mentioned at the start, I'm really thinking that the reconstruction would be nice for the Hades temple, because you're gonna be blocking the vaults of Erebus. So if you want to be casting one early, it might be making sense to me to try and do that. You're just gonna be getting yourself a bit more oracles and you're gonna be having the reconstruction ready for the next use case pretty soon still. Angel never got into any kind of good fights. However, as evidently Trinette did. 76. It's quite a difference to the others. Right, because for KanT, you are going to be having at this point 111. 21, sorry. 121 overall units killed. And for KeeNs, you have therefore 72. 126. So you can say now the differences in the units killed in the end aren't too significantly different. And just a few citizens here and villagers killed for the first 2 players. So 3-minute advance. Very nice to be seen that. 352 for Trinette. Not wasting his time either. You can see right now 404. Miniaty this time wasn't trying to go for the 445. This time they learned that maybe it's gonna be more reasonable to be going quick. Besides Angel, with a Hades, still kind of advancing a bit later here. Could be going a bit faster like the Zeus. But seems to be his favorite style a bit. Okay, something fun here. Just plenty of Prometheans. 9 Kyklops you already managed to get into the fight. Surprising number maybe for me a bit. 31 Hero Murmels. And I guess it's gonna be it for the game. GG. Okay, I'm time to be pulling up the shades. It's already gone down. Give me a sec. Okay, so let's therefore get into the last game. This game was having a bit of a story in there. So I just have gotten one of the extra recorded games in here because that was at the start. But I wanted to be seeing it full to see how it actually proceeded and whatnot. Just like for the interest. So that we have the full story and everything. So Yellow River is gonna be there for the game number 3, and we are going to be playing therefore with what kind of gods. As for the rules for the tournament, you are gonna be having teams selecting their home maps in the first 2 games, and the last one is preset. They are playing on basically what is given by the devs, by the admins. So the first round is played on Yellow River as the game number 3. Otherwise, well, the players are having practically 3 choices of civilizations, and there's a certain map pool. I think it's kind of like a ranked map pool, pretty much. I think it's limited to that. No, and well, let us therefore delve into this mapos. I haven't seen it for quite some time. But we're gonna be having therefore town center in yellow with pocket position for grassing room as set. So he liked this performance with it, I guess. You can see right now some safe gold mine beyond the base. So all the way southwards, we are playing with the Miniati, who is gonna be this time trying Fuxi. So just gonna go in all around here with the Sif. No, well, all around. He was having double Gaias before, and now he's gonna be doing something slightly different. You can see right now the gold mine also in an easy spot here for him, pretty much. So all the way upwards, Neymar will be there for playing yet again with the Kronos. So kind of probably liked how they performed in the last one. Just maybe the Fuxi is an interesting switch. Wonder what it's gonna be about that they didn't like about the Gaia in there. You can theoretically switch into Oranos if you wish to. Wouldn't be too bad. Wouldn't really be too bad in the end. But nonetheless, well, for the opposing team, for Kagenotoshi, we are playing with Dexito as set. Well, seeing of course the strength of the god in there. And Angeltrilli. And you can see he's gonna be picking the new Demeter here. Interesting. And we are gonna be all the way to the top side, having as the last one Trinette playing with the Oranos. So that's not gonna be the Gaia as in the last one, but going for a bit more of a straightforwardly aggro god. But the Demeter is very interesting to me. I'm kinda thinking that in team games she's gonna be very curious. In 1v1 so far she hasn't been entirely proven to be too super effective. But I'm thinking that in team games she could be possibly shining. She does have some interesting things to her. That could be working. I'm still kind of hoping that maybe somebody is going to be developing some strategy around more Hestia's hearths, maybe. And maybe some kind of extra economy that you will be having, like maybe 3 Hestia's hearths. And you will be positioning them on your economy. And therefore giving yourself some practically like 10% boost overall. So I'll be very curious if that could possibly work. Okay, Kronos therefore already in, and will be going for the Demeter herself actually from the very start. Interesting. Obviously since Demeter has lost the favor that she started with after she was released, and yeah, she's gonna be having a bit harder time maybe right now starting to get going with maybe even some myth units, as apparently we have Pan with the villager coming in. But yeah, starting against Orpheus, who is actually the only ranged hero in the start. For the Greeks, that doesn't entirely seem like too much of a smart idea, frankly. Probably could have been therefore going for somebody else if they really wanted to. But nonetheless, Vision is therefore in, and much more importantly, what is going to be the further gameplay, sorry. Well, that is a lot of... Right, the Batna goats. Nothing from yellow. You can say it's not just going to be having some animal upward. As it seems like the temple is gonna be right now not sent home, and seems like he's gonna be having enough time. But interestingly, he actually even sent the KanT barracks upwards. So that's a bit curious. Is he gonna be there for moving it as well, homewards? Because he probably could by now. Until certain he's gonna be able to do too much there. KanT barracks and military barracks, sure. For the green player in the middle, we so far not entirely seen anything, just get them a bit of favor. And then goats, providing the maximum help with the favor in. An armory coming up. It looks like a fast heroic then, right? No, I mean like not getting any kind of army, so it probably has to be. It probably therefore has to be. So all the way southwards, that will be the set. And so far, nothing entirely too much going on here either. By the way, what do we have right now for the upgrade? So Bunny we know. Classic. No, actually not entirely classic. It's gonna be Prometheus for the Oranos here for Trinette. Interesting again. Prometheus for Kronos, of course, making sense. And then we do have both sets advancing through Ptah. And the Fuxi. He actually went for... that's the Shennong, right? It's very interesting because we actually seen her lately a bit more often. We have seen her even last week when you were casting the last games from the Pandora's box. And there was also Shennong selected. So kind of interesting. Maybe she's right now growing in game time. Because she obviously wasn't cast at all or used at all in the previous, no, well, practically months and maybe even year plus at this point. She never was too popular. No, and what do we have there for here? For example, some first relic maybe. Oh, a relic that I haven't checked yet. Archimedes Ledger. Okay, so that's actually the most useless one. So let's not maybe focus on that. Rather, let's have a look how the military is gonna be performing currently on the battlefield. Neymar is gonna be reaching Trinette's base. Why are we gonna be wasting shockwave here? I'm asking. There's no purpose in that. Potentially would have been actually nice to be casting it if he went towards the villages and he wasn't having enough army to block him. But as you can see, he does have enough army, so that was just like an absolutely wasted god power, unfortunately. And fairly important one. Oh well, hopefully it's gonna be having some positive effect for Trinette anyway. As in the meantime, okay, that's gonna be there for Grassing Groom heading forward into the middle, as apparently you can see the heroic H4. For Demeter is coming through, and she is getting the Hestia. She is getting the Hestia. At the back, just gonna stealing some of the goats and hiding them away from the enemy. Wasn't apparently interested in necessarily collecting some more in their Angel. With not much else going on currently. Seems like it's gonna be a bit more of a focus of KeeN's upon the middle here, upon Angel. I mean, because the Demeter is not doing anything, they're just gonna thinking they need to be focusing her, because that's gonna be some plan of hers, and she's getting plenty of favor, so apparently it's gonna be some, no, probably something with the Dryads. Something with the Dryados, immediately even getting the Communal Hearth, so that you can be buffing the villages practically in here. Interesting. So we're gonna be getting some curious combo. By the way, in the middle, yeah, it is gonna be some kind of build-up. I was not entirely certain if it's gonna be only units, but machine workshops by the Chinese coming up. Okay, you can see on the armies, interesting colors, yellow and green here. 107 against 75, some kind of edge for Grassing Groom's team, for KeeN's. Whereas on the villagers, we are practically the same here currently, which is a bit interesting when you think of it. When there was that faster heroic. So therefore that practically inherently means you're gonna be some 5-6 villages behind. And evidently it's not entirely all that clear here. Curioso, to say the least. But nonetheless, well, currently it's gonna be not entirely too much of a super dominance yet. But what's happening here in green space? So far, still nothing. Oh, they are right about now, the Dryads here at the back. Yeah. Okay, so... Well, we have seen a clip of Dryads, what they can do on the latest patch with Shifting Sands. And we do have the Shifting Sands here as well. So yeah, let's see if maybe that's gonna be something that is there for the plan. For I guess. If they and how they're gonna be executing it, because at this point it's kinda clear that it is the plan. So I'm just kinda looking forward how they're gonna be trying to use it. Because I mean, like, sure, it's like a complete nuke of a solid group of army, if you're gonna be using it well. But is that necessarily something that needs to be super deadly? Because again, you can be having the Shifting Sands just like once, and then you're gonna be having to wait a lot. If you look right now at him, he's having 2 monuments, so he's gonna be having for like a second casting in there soon. Is that something that's just gonna be completely destroying you? That kind of depends how unprepared you are going to be for the casting, no? Just gonna need to be splitting your armies a bit on the other side. So I don't think it necessarily needs to be as super problematic. But again, there could be certainly the great use case where it's just gonna be annihilating half your armies. Okay, it's gonna be Neymar already through Rhea, sure. There we go, right now with the behemoths. Nice forward temple. By the way, if you're gonna be switching into him, he's gonna be having still only 3, unfortunately. Not getting any kind of further favor. I'm thinking that's a mistake in there. People really need to be learning to get more oracles. As you have seen in one of the previous games already, I think in Miniat. No, that wasn't Miniat. Somebody else, but nonetheless, I think it was the Trinette in the first game. But nonetheless, it's gonna be about now the special power right now utilized, and of course the elimination of the orange army. And this is why the restart came, because this is banned in the tournament. So that's the reason why they had to be replaying. There was of course a bit of discussion about it after. It wasn't like specifically stated in the rules, but it was stated specifically enough that even I knew about it from the Discord. But yeah, basically you are not supposed to be using any kind of exploits and whatever. As of course a huge question if this is even like an exploit. Probably isn't, because this is how the devs have buffed the Dryads. And this is simply like an effect in the team games. But it's gonna come in from the fact that I'm fairly certain they do not balance for team games at all. Basically that doesn't even enter their mindset, which is a bit of a shame considering that team games are of course always way more important for the community. And well, team games are in Age of Games the bread and butter and heart of the games, way more than only ones. But yeah, this is not right now allowed in the tournament, and therefore that's why they were having a restart, as KeeNs were kind enough to be allowing them to replay. They theoretically could have been demanding a loss, but nonetheless, again, it wasn't all that super fully mentioned in like the handbook and everywhere. So I'm thinking this is definitely great that they, without any kind of enmity, decided to be playing this again. But nonetheless, so this was therefore right now the first idea of maybe some kind of special strats you're gonna be seeing. There are gonna be, I'm hoping, plenty other things going on still, like the classic forest fire into Gaia's trees and whatever kind of nonsense is like that you could be thinking up. And you have new civilizations, new combinations. So I'm looking forward to what's going to happen and what players are gonna be bringing to the table. And maybe therefore how long the ban list is going to be at the end of it all. But okay, so this is not gonna be there for counting, and we're just gonna be right now there for C. And you can see it now even destroying the red army here to the bottom. So this was a very good landing with the god power, just destroying 2 armies at once practically. You're gonna be going for total 81 against 150, and just a moment ago they were above on the pop limit. So makes sense, right? They did manage to land it well, but that also could be because they weren't expecting it necessarily, because they were playing KeeNs with the fact that it shouldn't be used. Hard to say. But nonetheless, let us therefore have a look at some ups at this point. Catapultas for Trinette. He's gonna be having nothing, just Empyrean speed in there. Medium speedman Dexito is gonna be having, of course, nothing. It's only 10 minutes 39, so can definitely expect almost no upgrades in here. There's not gonna be any kind of army for green, so therefore of course no upgrades either in there. And for the others, you can say now, for example, for orange, Neymar is gonna be upgradeless, not even mediums for him. Fire Archer having the attack, and something yellow somewhere, for example here, it's gonna be a slinger with apparently electrum bullets, and that's it, and medium. Seems right now for the speedman he's gonna be also medium. So for the villagers, did we already get somewhere a bit deeper? No, we can't be entirely getting too deep considering 2 heroic ages in the game. And axe and pickaxe there. Yellow is gonna be having the pickaxe. And orange. No, pretty decent economical upgrades, all things considered. I can get behind that. You can say not even the first full line here. And that's an Oranos, that's not even a Gaia. Nothing for Demeter, and labor for Dexito. It's gonna be also hand axe and pickaxe, so nothing too really. Nobody entirely behind. Maybe kind of surprised. Would have been expecting that maybe somebody could be a bit lower, but evidently not. You can say now all the upgrades are ready to go in for miniature into the heroic age. I mean, like yellow kind of as well, consolidating the resources in there. to reach the next age. Orange obviously through, Demeter as well, and for the set Dexito, he isn't entirely too close, and neither is right about now Trinette, which is a bit heavier on the gold, both of them. So for the idols, well, Dexito, wow, these are actually fairly serious ones though here. And for a very long time, we can say now 820, for about a minute, he's gonna be having some 6+ villages idle. So some, well, no, we're having there for 6 times 60, so 360 resources lost. More than that even in here. That is a fairly serious one. Otherwise, well, green Angeltrilli having some idols in there. You can see here and there a few villages, or rather like one villager. Bit interesting right now to the start here, entirely certain what he was doing in there. But nonetheless, nothing too entirely super serious for either of the players. No, and economically you can say it now, grassing room. Interesting actually, straight line in here, completely ignoring some new eco, just going for straight military. I really, that's a bit odd though. It almost feels like that maybe he has forgotten auto queue on wheels. Yeah, it's a bit strange. That doesn't feel necessarily natural. Odd. Odd to say the least. And you can say now for the military, well, Dexito, of course, losing the animals, so it's gonna be having the drop in there as a set. But grassing room, immediately right now jumping on the army. Maybe it could have been actually natural. Maybe just gonna really decided to be investing straight into the army, because you can see he is getting much better up and above the others. Obviously, he's gonna be having some bonus with the animals, but still. Well, Dexito nicely caught up. And of course the Dryads in here for Angeltrilli. Okay, so that's gonna be the military, and for all the resources, there's gonna be quite a bit of a difference here from the start. Can say it now, already immediate difference between Grassing Room and Dexito, and they are the same civilization, and there is inherently 200 difference resources in favor of Dexito. Okay. But he does manages to catch up, as you can see here. So I guess just kind of like a bit of a distribution of villages at the start being slightly different. And you can say or something, not sure. 700 in here for mini, I think. Can say now excellently going with the economy. It's still 5 minutes, so it's gonna be kind of living off the yin-yang bonus into his eco. Then he's gonna be of course right now dropping off, because it's gonna be switching into the military in there. Natural ebb and flow for Fuxi. Can say it now, grassing room though, definitely picking up the rear in here. And right now he's, for example, like 1100 resources beyond Dexito. Whereas though, on the other hand, Neymar is still keeping up. I mean, like, Neymar is playing really well economically in all the games so far today. And at the end, and we're gonna be getting right now all of the players. They're still... So that's gonna be Angel, sure, fast heroic in, grassing room next to him. Then we do have another tier practically. Neymar is gonna be completely above everybody else, but you can say now Miniati is right there with him. But still about like 1,000 more than Trinette, for example. Just to be really liking to see a bit more oracles for the Atlanteans. That's definitely something I'll be enjoying a bit more, and I'm guessing they would be enjoying it as well. I can see right now, just through the shifting sense with the Dryad, 68 kills managed to get in there. Can see Trinette getting some further ones, but yes, that was the only thing here. It really just gonna made some kind of difference, and you can see how OP therefore it is. Angeltrilli 710, that is a pretty nice fast heroic on 1 TC, it's a very good timing, but yeah, well, this strategy, at least kind of wanted to be seeing it once here utilized in the game. We are not gonna be seeing it again, because it is banned in the Mythic Clan League. Now, okay, GG. I guess, because at this point we're gonna be having the real game. So now, let's go into the actual Yellow River that's gonna be counting, because this time we are not going to be having the Dryads, we're gonna be keeping the same civilizations, but that strat cannot be utilized. So now we have a appropriate battle ahead of us. No, and the civilizations therefore are gonna be absolutely same. Grassigrum is gonna be playing with Set. He's gonna be in the pocket. To the bottom, Miniat is playing with Fuxi. And all the way top side is gonna be there for Neymar playing with Kronos. Left wing will be Trinette playing with Oranos. Middle is gonna be Demeter, Angeltrilli, and last one to the bottom is gonna be Dexito with yet another set in the game. So at this point, I guess he's just gonna be having a bit more time to look at some of the relics. It'll be interesting to see if it's gonna be again some kind of early fighting going on. Probably be expecting so. The civilizations are still somewhat suited for that, especially for KeeNs. And as for Kages, kind of a bit harder to say what they're gonna be trying to do with the Demeter in there. They could theoretically try to go for the Lycan's build into economy, if he actually knows how to do that. So that's maybe some kind of possibility, where the other players basically just like trying to protect him. And then the Demeter will be coming in with the archers and the chain arrow or whatever it is, the technology from Hestia. Maybe that could be seen some kind of combination like that. No, and for the relics, therefore, Rhea's Crown for cheaper TCs. That's gonna be there for the first choice here. Texts of Imhotep for some build time reduction. It's pretty good. Gonna be saving quite some time across the course of the game. Head of Orpheus for LOS. Huri's hunting bow is gonna be for the villagers and their huntables. Therefore, gather 8 being faster. It's pretty nice, considering you can see, for example, the hunting spot and even the wolves. On the left side, Eye of Horus. Some extra pop limit, but kinda low, so not too important. Guitar of Apollo for the movement speed is actually pretty nice though for the bills. Belt of Argus, complementing Head of Orpheus. So pretty great two upgrades to pick up. Coidrum for the hero. Okay, increasing the damage per the damage that they received. Then the next one, Fetters of Fenrir, I guess, for some better villagers. Dwarven Calipers possibly for some later stages of the game. And I think in one of the last ones, that's gonna be there for okay, Charon's Obol, we don't have to be reading that. And Schools of the Kerkopes for some extra monkeys at the start. Considering what kind of animal party we're gonna be having here with the sets, I guess in that few more monkeys are gonna be well kind of suited to join the party. So for some first advances, it looks like it maybe Trinette is already going through a... Actually, rather the Kronos is gonna be in at 3 minutes. This time it's gonna be playing a bit differently, because yeah, going for the Demeter again against the Orpheus in there doesn't make too much of a sense. It's gonna be much better to try and play against the other players. What is right now the matter going through? Haha, this time it's gonna be Ares. So it looks like it may be there. No, I mean, like, looks like it's not gonna be there for the economical build. It's gonna be more of a maybe there for the Cyclopes. Maybe something that we have seen in the first game, or maybe like just the first game. Maybe even just like the previous one. We have seen the Hades going for the Cyclopes and stuff. So maybe it's gonna be attempt to do it similarly with the Demeter. There's the Orpheus. No, and therefore that's practically meaning not entirely too much of a fun further here for Neymar. He is though going to be having the counter barracks also sent in. I'm liking how he's actually distributing his army and his kind of like build up. So that possibly it's gonna be a bit harder to potentially take down everything at once. Once it's gonna be all escalating, as all the way southwards you are going to be having just some scouting. So far by Dexito, but the armies, nothing entirely here coming up yet. For the Fuxi, for example, for Dexito on the other side for the set, still in the first age, by the way. Only now at 422, he is gonna be reaching the next one. No monument. Oh, there is one. Okay, one monument. And going interestingly right now through also Anubis.
Etimos.
No, but you can see Grassigrum, he did continue with Ptach, so he's gonna be playing the same as he did before. I mean, like it worked excellently in game number 2, so I'm not entirely blaming him that he's wanting to still continue with what worked. That's usually what you should be continuing doing until it doesn't. But nonetheless, well, we are going to be there for having some double archer ranges coming from Angeltrilli. Yeah, I'm really thinking he's gonna be trying to play it in a similar way as with the Hades. So therefore basically archers with Cyclopes, and he's just gonna be having a different major god. No, he's gonna have to be careful about not abandoning the thought of the ballistics once he's gonna be reaching the heroic age. This time he's gonna be having to pay for that and wait until it's gonna be properly upgraded. But army coming in, and well, what is gonna be currently blue trying to do so far? Double counter barracks. Yes, he was defending against his opponent so far, but now it's gonna be time to also join with the others. And he's an Oranos, so he theoretically should be sending some villager forward and getting some sky passage into a good position, as orange is gonna be there for the constructing one archer range. Like why? That feels kind of like low effect slightly. I'll be kind of thinking, but at the same time, if he's gonna be expecting that he's gonna be having more favor, then casting it first and then having another casting later, why not? But he's having still only 3 oracles, so I don't think that's entirely the consideration for him. Would not really think so. Ah, that's gonna be finally the sky passage by blue at the back. Maybe could have been going a bit more forward so that he doesn't have to be walking too far away. But sure, at least something. No, and for the opponents, that's gonna be a bit more interesting development, because Grassingram is, for example, getting a second TCE in here. Not only getting, he has already gotten it. Orange. 1 and 1. Where's the temple? Oh, there. Just kinda thinking if maybe he somehow got destroyed on the way. But evidently not. As you can see, army-wise, therefore 80 for Dexito's team, 54 for Grassingrum's, so therefore we are going to be having Kage a bit more in the front. But they don't have too much of like a super scary army yet. You can say it now, sure, 2 Cyclopes are already not definitely something to be concerned about, but if you're gonna be growing into something like 5, 6 of them, yeah, that's of course what you want. But well, with the army that we have for the Chinese, not entirely too optimistic that's gonna be working out this time. Yeah, probably the first time was the charm that it was just like a surprise for KeeNs. They weren't entirely certain what to expect. Now they kinda do have an idea, and the preparations are fairly thorough. Nicely coming in to help defend the TC here, and also so that he can be producing the units right into the battlefield. It's gonna be, of course, inevitably quite a nice assistance as well, with very good special damage by the Chillins here. Well done. Well done indeed. All kinds of funny graphics, of course, as far as the glow. It's really interesting how he's gonna be throwing away all kinds of, I don't know, effects or whatnot. No, but it seems like that right now KeeNs have practically caught up to the enemy with their population limit on the military. On the economy, they're gonna be already better off, because of course the second TC, the only in the game so far, is starting to pay off. And yes, they should be right now trying to blind the teal player so that he's not gonna be having the free and getting the free information. Whereas it is certainly a good idea for yellow to be dropping a few obelisks of his own. Yes, yes, please. Let's do that. Any kind of vision is gonna be, of course, super advantageous. Okay, so 3 Cyclopes so far. If you're gonna be switching to the Demeter, she doesn't have anything else here. You can see right now the favor is there though. So favor is not a problem. You just need to be getting the other resources, evidently. And well, who is advancing therefore into heroic age? That's gonna be only the Kronos. Whereas nobody else is clicked in. Fuxi having the food here. So he's close, I guess. Potentially maybe right about now Dexito. Having some high gold, and the food is also coming up. Apparently Oranos is coming through, Trinette and Demeter. Can maybe too. Also halfway there and getting closer with the resources. So I guess, yep, that's gonna be Hestia. Wonder if he's gonna be trying to play there for with the Dryads as well. Just gonna using them without the shifting sands. There shouldn't be any kind of problem in that use case. With not much entirely army in here. I can see it's gonna be only one detachment. With the second, that's gonna be all the way to the bottom, the Chillins. Having maybe some kind of aggressive thoughts, considering that they are supposed to be very basically like animals of peace. Apparently they can be also getting a bit aggressive when they want to be maintaining that. However, there's gonna be a second TC taken by the red player, and there is so far just really one side. The other side is not entirely thinking of it all that much, or rather maybe at all. So I'm thinking that's already right now threatening to be an important piece of the further progress of the game. No, but currently you can see we are just way too passive here for Kages. As having a huge army, and unfortunately not entirely doing anything with it. You need to be at least kind of like, I don't know, scaring the opponent. So basically like trying to find some villages on the side, trying to maybe just like back and forth towards the army, so that you can like activate the opponent somehow. So they have something to do, and they don't have as much of a peace of mind. Especially if you have invested into the army yourself. Then you just kind of don't want to be letting the advantage go too much. No, but well, the problem is currently that it looks like that Grassing Room's team is gonna be significantly ahead. So at this point, just kind of like inching ahead up until it's now practically meters. You can see 232 pop limit against 174 for Kages. As far as the military villages are gonna be also by about 30 better for KeeNs. There's not a small difference at all, with even a 3rd EC here for the Chinese. Just a palace, and apparently some KanT right now raiding through the enemy base. That's not entirely terrible shockwave. I'll be able to get a few hits. Definitely should have been controlling the catapultas a bit nicer though in there. Could have been having maybe more, like 1 or 2, but whatever the case, that's all fine. As much more importantly, as you can see, Kages are trying to lay claim to the middle island, which is very important. DC kinda sure, but with all the gold mines that it has, especially because you can see here in the team game how many there are, that is the important stepping stone towards the enemy territory, and of course towards late game as well. We do have some gold in the base, so we are not like completely needing in the middle, but yeah, pretty good reason to try and do something about them. As you can say, now there's gonna be some is he getting some further? No, just upgrades. I was kind of thinking if you would be getting some further scarabs, it almost looks like a positioning for shifting sands. But I don't really think that's gonna be the case too much. Okay, interesting combination of myth units currently here for Angel. But they are still not entirely really laying claim to the mid. You can see Heroic Age for everybody, besides currently Miniati, who's gonna be the last one. We're not dropping any kind of fortresses here, Migdals, nothing. Yeah, it's a bit odd, maybe. Okay, looks like he's gonna be trying to hide the Dryads in here. Theoretically might be a fairly interesting spot for them to be in, because some kind of fights could be taking place here very easily. I've already seen some kind of scouting before. Alright, so there we go. They are going to be the trees. By the way, if we currently switch into the red point of view, no, you're just gonna still see it this way. No, well, at any rate, just gonna wanted to be right now seeing that as all the way topside. It almost looks like it maybe there's gonna be some huge battle in the middle. I was almost going to say that Neymar could be trying to tackle his own player to the top, but currently it's a bit odd. Wow, didn't even see the yellow completely covered on the minimap. So it looks like it's gonna be heading into a bit of a 2 versus 1. You can say I have his spearman already here for Grassing Room with double copper and bronze. His teammate is gonna be all coppered, and the opposition medium catapultas, it's gonna be also double copper. So slightly better upgrades here for Grassing Room, who is also by far leading on the score. This guy showcasing his excellence in the gameplay. Well, that's gonna be there for... Oh, that is a fairly nice idea, so that he cannot be entirely hiding the army all that quickly. He's gonna be still having a TC nearby, but still. It's a good thinking in there by Neymar. Not terrible at all. No, and who's gonna be there for the victor of this? Looks like it may be Neymar together with Grassing Room. Seem to be Ratna slightly better coordinating, as Dexito will be at least slightly helping with the ancestors. With everybody else, no, not everybody else, There's simply Angel trying to join in with some actual military force. But it seems like so far Neymar is gonna be left alone here with the rest of Grassingrum's army. Not gonna be necessarily sending some kind of heavy reinforcements, or maybe only now. And considering how slow they are, almost kind of makes me feel that they need to be leaving some 4 animals behind. Or the budget is also gonna be pretty slow, yeah, 3.8. Scrap is not gonna be too much better. 3.2. So getting into positioning is taking quite a long time, but whatever the case, Neymar is gonna be getting some very healthy mythical age here, and therefore immediate implosion is gonna be meaning quite a serious problem for the Demeter. Can't say now population limit, no, basically some 50 left, even less than that on the military. And would be wanted to get Hera, but with the resources, no, actually, yeah, he's gonna be selling some food. I can definitely see there. Oh, right, the opposite way. Oh, there. Yeah, well, thank you again for the excellent observer interface where you can see where the god powers are actually cast if you don't manage to somehow catch it out of the corner of your eye. No, well, nonetheless, so that was a meteor that we didn't see, and also it doesn't seem like it really did anything all that much. Yet he's gonna be having at this point the same population limit on the military between them, with right now casting, yeah, into the teal. No, it seems like that even the phoenixes are getting some hit by the meteor, some heat, even though they are kinda creatures of fire. They're flying, they also fall the red one here, but nonetheless, that's gonna be therefore currently significantly changing the course of the battle, because just before the meteors you're on the same level, about 240-50, and now we are going to be having some 80 population limit more for KeeN's army. Quite a hefty and healthy difference right now achieved and in. But you're gonna be really missing right now the siege weapons yet again. So we have a pretty huge army currently, but legitimately just one scarab and that's it. And there he is, the scarab, just couldn't even see it in all the glow and everything. Yeah, so that kinda sucks, but the amount of chillings is actually fairly nice. You can see it's gonna be right now healing everybody pretty damn quickly, because it does stack. They don't have the upgrade, right? Well, actually they do, Chilling's Blessing. No, they do. Just don't change the name, as most units do. So this is looking pretty solid, as right now therefore the flood. Wow, where they were actually cast it. Maybe somewhere here. No, that was probably from the meteor. I have no freaking idea where actually that was cast. No idea whatsoever. I'm gonna be probably assuming that it was maybe somewhere downwards, therefore, whatever the case here, it seems like it in the midst, we are not gonna be having any kind of serious threat. As, oh, maybe it was actually cast somewhere there, because we were kind of watching here in the south and didn't really see the effect anywhere too much, and it's just maybe moved away before the wave reached us, but I would be thinking not. However, it seems like this is gonna be not entirely like a straight defeat of Dexito, but obviously he's not doing entirely too super well. You can see he's having some extra economy still around the map. Millions at this point of barracks still available, but the economy for Teal is certainly gonna be somewhat broken. 56 villages, you can say it now, though not much better for the Demeter at 36. 70 for example for Trinette and the pop limit, and then we do have 80, 100 and 100 for KeeN's, so you can definitely right now tell who is right now the upper hand party, with also some extra TCs for example here for Neymar. And looks like it right about now, Grassingham is getting even the middle TC. Yep, getting all the extra population limit, and it seems it's gonna be there for game over. Yep, it definitely is. Looking exactly at those signs, and that's gonna be meaning that after, well, the first game, maybe giving KeeN's a bit of a needed slap, that they will be needing to take this very seriously, unless they want to be finishing even before playoffs. Then it's gonna be there for them taking the 2-1 victory. But again, since we are playing all three, and all the games are gonna be pretty important, so Kage no Toshi can be pretty happy. I'm thinking with taking one of such a powerful opponent, it's gonna be definitely improving their chances for the further progress. As I mentioned, we have 4 groups, per 6 or 7 teams from the clans, and well, top 2 are gonna be advancing into the playoffs for each, so it's kinda okay. With 6, top 2 advancing is pretty nice. In RTS League, we used to be quite often doing like 3, basically depended upon how many divisions there were, and that kind of therefore playoff settings he wanted to be going into. So I guess let's therefore finish the match, and then well, we're gonna be taking a tea break, and then we're gonna be switching into community games because we don't have anything else from records. And we're gonna be having further Mythic Clan League tomorrow at 19 GMT. There's a double header. There are gonna be 2 matches. Are gonna be definitely other streamers also doing the games, but so far not even having anything, I think, in live from Age of Empires 2. So I'm thinking that tomorrow we're gonna be having some further AOM. And over the weekend we'll see, because there are gonna be plenty matches, maybe some overlaps. So if there's gonna be some kind of help needed with maybe doing something, then we can certainly step in. But so far it seems like there's plenty of activity from community streamers that are at the start wanting to stream and cover games. So I was thinking that you're gonna be probably mostly just doing it on our sessions here on Wednesday, and if it fits for Monday, Thursday, then sure, could be also having something there too. But we'll see. We will see how it works out in the end. But let's therefore right now have a look at the upgrades. Heavy Slingers for Grass and Groom, and it's gonna be all bronze already. It's 19 minutes, so it's not a short game. So we are to be expecting some good ups. The Pioneers with the Chillins is quite an army. Now this is kind of like really something I'm curious about what's gonna be working in the game, because that's a lot more unexplored. In the original game we were having some ideas here. We definitely don't. Can say it now, copper line in full for Miniati. And orange all the way top side, heavy Arcus. It's gonna be also having full copper line. But it looks like actually the Trinette wasn't doing half bad here against Neymar. There was a bit of a help from yellow needed here to stabilize the front. So actually Trinette might have been having some good game here. Good job. Catapultas therefore will be double copper and bronze, with already also the ballistics also in play. Demeter is gonna be having the fated arrows in there, but yeah, well, yeah, that's actually a good idea. He was gonna play it as the Hades in there, so why not just gonna go for her and get the ricochet, which is pretty powerful, especially in the late game when you're gonna be having all the upgrades. Not to be trifled with. And about, and Camel Raiders, also all copper. So basically very similar upgrade line all across the board. No, and for the villagers, so what kind of eco ops we have ended up with? Only pickaxe for Dexito. Can say now somewhat similar here currently here for Angel, but he's gonna be at least having the bow, and he's having the divine labor for the extra carrying capacity for the wood and gold, and by the way also the healing. Healing per full resource inventory dropped off. Oh, that's very interesting. This is kind of something I didn't know when it was releasing, the kind of details, so thank you, Logi. So, per full resource. So you need to be having basically full hands, so it cannot be microed that you will be getting one resource, getting back and getting healed. Maybe it would be interesting if it could be like a proportional one, that if you will be having half hands full, you'll be getting half the healing. That would be an interesting mechanism, but no, frankly, if they don't have to be coding that, then we know our devs. Probably better to be doing it simply. And plus 18. So basically you're getting 18 hit points, right? I guess. So it's not like a full heal or whatnot, but still 18 is not too bad. And blue. Okay, so some nice upgrade second lines even. Next to the Kitter of Apollo for the movement speed, that's very good. For the Kronos, he is going to be right about now. Kind of similar. It's like one upgrade less, but okay. Yellow Hendax and Chef Mine. At this point, actually, even Grassengum is having some ups. Very good. Very nice and good. And apparently, well playing Miniati, focusing the economy the most. It's going to be right now investing even into flat control, carpenters. Just missing the query in there. Very well done. That's gonna be the best in the game, but it's already 20 minutes, so let us therefore have a look upon if maybe somebody's floating something, maybe some remaining upgrades that are on the line. You can see, for example, for yellow, he's getting Boso and even Fortified TC Query, so he'll be a bit better off very soon. With tons of resources for the Fuxi. Oh, well, he can just kind of spend it upon what he wants, because this Mythic Age has already been reached for him. For the Kronos, somewhat hefty queue, so it's gonna be plenty of resources in that. Teal, nothing too much to be seen here. For the blue player, you can say it now also pretty decent queue. Plenty of Turmei though. Practically focusing just the counter units in there, and the Demeter. 3,000 food. That is certainly high, but now I cannot entirely further use of that. And no use either of either Wither or Pestilence. Really, Pestilence is just like something, if I could be getting to it and making a video on Pestilence, because something like it is definitely one of the most misunderstood and underused god powers, and misused as well. Or rather just like misused / unused. So often actually it doesn't get even used. And it's a very interesting god power. Wither, well, players need to be probably getting acquainted with that a bit more. But nonetheless, probably some kind of blocking of farms if somebody's gonna be trying to go for eco builds. Might not be too much of a bad idea. So, therefore, for some kind of further information, do seem to be having decent amount of spikes on villages for Grass and Groom here, right? There's having quite a few of them here. Definitely Teal. You can see Dexito is having some like longer term villages in there at the end. But that's also when he was getting destroyed and this TC lost, so yeah, we probably understand. Miniate here. That's a fairly high idle though. Maybe more focusing on the army. And considering his economy was going pretty decently then, I guess maybe he just didn't even mind too much. It is a possibility after all. For the civilians, Grassingham was having the second TC the earliest, so of course. And then Miniate was getting some second and even a third one after. So he's gonna be a bit quick right now, gaining. Loving Angeltrilli here at the straight 0 line. It seems like he actually turned off the auto queue and he just like never turned it back on. Flatlining on the villages, but also not losing any. Also not really losing any at all. Can't say now there's the distraction of Dexito here. No chance after. Ancestors helping with... it was the push to the top side, right? Against blue, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. It was like the orange with yellow. Something of interest. Otherwise, no, Dexito can straighten out a bit bigger army here early, but wasn't really able to turn it into anything. Yeah, they had bigger army than their opponents, and they just kind of kept waiting, not doing anything. Even if you don't believe that you have enough to beat the opponent, you're just gonna need to be active, or at least at the minimum take like a piece of the army, look for villagers, I don't know, annoy wallers, again, engage the enemy army, as in engage so that you know where it is, and that the opponent will be just like having to stay in spot and having to wait for you so that he cannot be having some ideas of going for a raid himself. Just kind of don't stay and do nothing. No, that's the only advice that I can be given here. Try to be mobile in any kind of way. It can help. And it usually does help. As for some further resources here, counts therefore. Are we gonna be having again difference between yellow and teal? No, currently, yeah. Currently it's gonna be in the opposite way. Remember last game? Grass and Groom was about a few hundred resources beyond Dexito. Now it's the opposite way. You can see Grass and 200 above. That's so odd. Now, well, a few minutes after they're gonna be on the same level, not really the same as last game. No, and now it's gonna be Grass and Groom above. Second TC he has gotten very early. 514. So this is already where yellow is taking off economically. And now it's gonna be him, not Neymar, picking up the top of the graph, and very convincingly so. 11 minutes, that's Angeltrilli, and Dexito. Then kind of like a mid here for the rest, and Grassing Room this time, the one running away. Bit uncharacteristic for him, I guess, but well executed, I'm thinking. And at the very end, you can see it's gonna be some 3000 above Miniati, who is very quickly catching up to him. Look at the graph, how it's getting closer. And everything is in place, and he's gonna be having his yin. What is it? Is it yin for the economy or yang? I never know. I'm gonna be assuming the first one, because it's the one you start with the economical bonus, so maybe it's yin, but really no idea. And at the end of the spectrum, that's gonna be, of course, Angel and Dexito. I'm liking the X in there, but in the end, it's probably supposed to be Sh, right? How it's gonna be like the Xolotl, for example, for the Aztecs and whatnot. It's probably supposed to be Dexito, but I'm just liking the X in there. So I've been calling him Dexito, so sorry if it's not right. Probably isn't, but yeah, well, hopefully it's not offending or anything. No, pretty decent favor here for Trinette. He has therefore gotten himself some high amount of, yes, 7 oracles. He was having that also in the first game, so he is not entirely afraid of that. You can see only 4 here for Neymar. Especially as a Kronos, you need to be getting a lot more. I mean, like both Kronos and Oranos, because Kronos, infinite valor and deconstruction, and potentially kills and really good god powers. And for the Oranos, you're gonna be potentially having that as well. And infinite shockwave is also great, plus the kills and stuff. No, yeah, saying it all the time, people should be focusing on that in general as well. You can see Grassing Room with the gold, of course, as an Eggy. Can see something funny here. Good kills for Angel. Dexito didn't really get too many great fights there, even with 60 army. Grassing Room, on the other hand, he was having the Meteor into his army. That's where he probably collected quite a few kills. Really no idea where the flood went, so that's a mystery to me. But I'm gonna be assuming probably like a middle top forever against Trinette, but impossible to say. So 3 minutes, damn, quite nice, of course. Classic crush. 330s, 424 for Grassing Room. Slightly later, but you can see a similar build to Dexito, or same build probably. It's not too bad yet. If you're not gonna be reaching like above 430 into like the 440, I guess it's gonna be fine. 9 minutes heroic age even after for Neymar. It's a bit interesting. And that's maybe also the reason, no, I mean like it's 10 minutes after, but maybe one of the reasons why, well, Grassing Room was having to be on his side. Or maybe it was premeditated and prepared. Could have been that they were communicating about it that way. You can see both at 15 minutes mythical age though. Timing's pretty decent here. Competent players on both sides. So I guess GG. Congratulations therefore to KeeN Clan on their victory in the first round of Group B of Mythic Clan League hosted by Deities of Death and the community. So good job and good luck in the further rounds. Still 5 rounds, so therefore 4 more to go for them, if I'm not mistaken, in the next weeks. No, and for KanT, so therefore that means Kage no Toshi. Also very much good luck in the further matches and congratulations on the win in the first game. That is definitely a very good result. And I'm thinking they might be happy for that in the progress of the tournament. So GG and good luck further.